I was just wondering, Izzy, particularly with the youth strike movement, how you were saying that you've built such an incredibly diverse group of followers. What kind of tools have you used to do that, and what challenges have you faced in building up such a big following?
I think the first thing that came into that is that it's a global movement. So when you have a movement that spans across every continent and in over 150 countries with almost 2 million students taking part, it will naturally be a very, very diverse movement. And that kind of building those links between these different countries has been so incredibly powerful for us as individuals, for example in the UK, but also just for a movement to be able to have those structures in place where we can say, if we look at what's happening in the Amazon rainforest right now, where us in the UK, we can say, well, we're thousands of miles away from it. There's not much we can do here. So we don't know what we're meant to be doing. Why don't we go ask these students in Brazil who are on the ground protesting now, who know the situation there a lot better. So part of that just comes down to listening to people who are in the right place. And not assuming you know all the answers because you've read about it online or something like that, and making that distinction between people who have that first-hand experience of it and people who have then seen it in the news. But I think just building movements across that span continents, that span all the kind of human divisiveness that we've created is such a powerful and important thing to have done. And it's one of the reasons why I think this movement's been so successful and so strong.
Do any of the rest of you want to come in on that question as well? No? Okay, other question? Yeah. Other question? Alejandro? Sure.
Yeah, Alejandro, question for Finlay, correct? Yeah. So, obviously you have a lot of fire and you seem like a quite motivated individual, and you also seem to be a little bit upset with previous generations. So, how would you recommend for an older person to maintain the motivation or be as fiery as you are in the later stages of their life?
Well, find something you're passionate about, because really raw passion can be any emotion. It can be anger, it can be fire, as you say. But really, if you're an old person and you have kids, encourage them into the environment. That's what my parents did. They encouraged me to go for walks. They taught me these different species of animals when I was younger, and then I grew interested, and I still am now. As well as keep yourself interested, because there's no point trying to educate someone about something that you don't even care about. So keep yourself interested, as well as keep younger people interested in the marine, in the environment in general. And I mean, realistically, my main campaigns have been telling people exactly what I think of them. So why, if you want to start a campaign, tell somebody exactly what you think of them.
Sounds nice, thanks Billy. Does anyone else want to comment on that question? Maintaining our fire or finding our fire, particularly for Matt and me, people at the slightly older end, and Alejandro. Izzy?
I think I can speak on behalf of quite a lot of people in our generation when I say that when we refer to the fact that older generations have failed, we don't mean it as a targeted attack. We mean it more as a, let's take a step back. The techniques you've been using, the narrative you've been using, might not have been working best. Let's try something new. And part of that is so important that's come from this is listening to young people. I'm sure Finlay, you've had similar experiences where you've walked into a room and been immediately dismissed because you're the youngest person there, even if the people talking have no idea what they're going on about. And so part of that is when we say adults, you haven't done this well enough, we don't mean give up, we mean do better. We don't mean let's let the kids do it, we mean actually it's all of our responsibility. We don't want to be doing this, we want to be not striking and in school and doing all the other stuff that kids should be doing. So it's not permission to stop campaigning and stop working and stop fighting, it's more you've got to do even more now.
so as Matt so kindly drew your attention as one of those slightly older people, I mean, I get my motivation and my just hope from you guys. You're incredible. And can I throw a question back to you guys? What can we do as some of the slightly older generation of people that are working in conservation positions do to support you to achieve the change you want to see?
Well, conservation groups do a lot, but really, we need conservation groups to be more radical. Make the changes that we wish to see. Because at the end of the day, it's our planet and our future we're fighting for.
Woo! I would be a really terrible representative of my organisation if I didn't plug our events at every opportunity I got, so forgive me for this one. But you are an adult on September 20th, less than 2 weeks to go. Come on strike with us. It's amazing, it's going to be great. I get not everyone can, but if you can, it's a really great opportunity. It's a really great way to show your support for the student strikers. More than just sending a message on Twitter saying you do. We really appreciate when adults come. Also, I think one of the things that makes us feel more empowered, that also helps this movement, is listen to us. I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but just listen to young people and don't assume that you're helping them in the way they need, because quite a lot of the help we need is actually very different to what you'll expect. And we do need help. None of us are pretending we know what we're doing. I've been involved in this for 8 months and I still wake up every morning and bluff my way through 90% of what I'm saying. So yeah, please do, if you have skills or you have time, offer that support to youth organisations, because we really do need that at the end of the day. We are all working part-time on this, we don't have a lot of those skills, and instead of just doing the things for us, pass those skills along to us. Teach us how to do those things, empower the young people who are fighting this fight.
Okay, more questions from the floor, please. Charlie?
I just have a
Oh,
tiny...
can you wait for the mic? Sorry, I know it's a short question.
So the climate strike on the 20th, I have been, well, it doesn't really apply to me, but some organisations are giving their staff permission to strike, or encouraging them to strike, and Anthony said the same. So is anyone else in that situation where you can email to say, go along to the strike, represent the organisation, even maybe? That's really good. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, thanks Charlie. Anything else from the floor? Anthony, right next door to you.
I've got a question around, so there's understandably a lot of talk about how the system needs to change. Our system clearly isn't working currently. There are big challenges in terms of our food system, but also there's lots of people living in huge poverty around the world. So my question is, how are we going to replace that system, and what ideas have you got to make that happen?
Who wants to start?
Well, as a society, first of all, we need to stop thinking about economic growth or capitalism or whatever the hell you want to call it. We need to stop that general idea. So after we stop that, we then, if you were here last night, we watched part of Our Planet, Our Business. That basically explains everything we need to do, and it's completely correct. So everybody, when they get home, go onto Netflix, watch that, because it's very interesting, plugging David Attenborough, even though he's not here. It is a hard question, because it's been found that humans as a species prefer a real, reassuring lie than an uncomfortable truth. So really, no one wants to change the system except for us environmental people. And because people don't want to change, it means the vast majority of the time we need the change, but politicians have the majority of the people, and they represent the people, and people don't want to change, which means the politicians maybe won't make the change that we need.
Okay, who's tackling this next?
So I'm going to slightly avoid the question of how do we solve the world and fix the entire system, because I don't feel really qualified for that one. But I can talk a little bit about how we can perhaps develop the conservation sector more specifically, because I think, as a sector, we've got a history of sort of going quite rogue on things. things and not really waiting around too much to be told that we can do stuff and actually just doing it. And there is, as a sector, we have so many skills across, there's so many people with so much knowledge and passion and capacity. So capacity building, skill sharing, more collaboration, more interdisciplinary work, all that kind of stuff. So doing the training of things, talking in different things, talking to people who have skills in stuff that you would like to learn about. Those things, I think, and then we can start just doing it. I think.
So I'm gonna head on back to system change. That's something I'm very passionate about.
I think that probably talks to the difference between generations. The young generations are just going for it.
So one of the things you learn about in history when you're like 14 years old in England is the Industrial Revolution. And you learn all about how great the discovery of coal was and how the UK, we were the first country to do that, and it was all amazing. And because we were the first country to industrialise on that scale, we need to be the first country to essentially de-industrialise. We need the first country to have a green industrial revolution, to use Labour's terms. And so part of that is we need something like a Green New Deal. We need something that will redistribute our resources. And that's when he said we need to stop thinking about GDP growth and economic growth as the be-all, end-all of success, because it's not. And quite frankly, capitalism as a system, but also this idea that we've got in which success is based on this infinite cycle of infinite growth on what is a finite planet is unsustainable and it's unrealistic. And we're very quickly realizing that. So there are a lot of things that need to happen. And one of the reasons why we campaign for a Green New Deal with these strikes is because that is one of the pieces of legislation that has huge transformative power over our economy, our social services, our education systems, our food systems, all of it, and all of it is a part of this larger systemic issue.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot has been said. I'll actually say two things really. The first thing is when you talk about the food system and any other system that's not really sustainable right now globally, if you look into it, so there are consumers and there are producers, right? So as consumers, they do have a lot of power of choosing what to choose in terms of what they buy. And also a little like 30-second time before buying the product, reading the labels where the palm oil came from, who made it. For example, the Gap shirts that we wear here, £20 per shirt. If you look into this, the labor market that goes behind it in Bangladesh, Vietnam, and many other countries, India, their wage per day is not even $1 per hour. So if you think about it, so it's a global problem and it's divided in two different ways. So as consumers, actually we do have the power to choose what to buy, what not to buy, and then create this movement around it that just read your labels and how much you need. And it's just not one industry like the food or fashion, it's leather, it's branded products and whatnot, right? The second thing I wanted to talk about right through this discussion is that we do have the syndrome of being the leaders, but I guess it's time to be the team players. So it's important that even if you have the opportunity to hold political, like global political power aggregated into some countries, and it's really important that those countries really practice good policies and also come up with these movements and help to generate this thing. But it's also very, very important for those countries where power is aggregated to be the team player and give other countries a chance to actually say their narratives about this conservation, climate change problem issues, as sometimes just the producers, not big consumers, but yet being the sufferers of the problems. Also, in doing so, if it is possible, I'm not saying any narrative is good, bad, right, wrong, but it is extremely important to have all of those in a certain area and then start pondering around what works and what doesn't. So, yeah.
Okay. We're going to take one final question from the floor. Yes. Yeah.
What do you think our governments could do to stop some of the species going extinct?
So we've got targets in the UK. There are global targets, there are UN targets, there are also national targets. of things that are meant to be happening, bills that are meant to be passed, how many species we want to protect, how much land we want to protect, how many trees we want to plant, etc. And so the first step is to stick to those targets, because actually they're pretty good. If you look at things like, for example, the Paris Agreement, which is not legally binding, it's not really followed by any means, and as we've been learning in the US, countries can just pull out of it when they choose. However, if you actually read it, it's quite radical in what it says, it's quite extreme in what it's asking for, which is necessary. The problem is when you've got targets that governments and politicians and businesses can sort of pick and choose from, and they can say, you know, I quite like the look of that bit, it's not that bad. We're not going to sacrifice too much money on that one, or that one will be pretty easy to get, so we can do that, we'll just ignore the rest of them. So we do have these targets in place, we've got all of this stuff in place, and actually quite a lot of what we're asking for to happen as a movement, as a sector, a lot of the research has been done. A lot of the information and the policy is already there waiting to go. So part of what we need is we need a government that will actually listen to it, they'll listen to the science, and there's so much science that is just being ignored, and they will actually act upon all of those things that they've technically actually already agreed to.
Well, everyone has a favourite animal, I think, don't they? And then you can look at what threatens that animal. So let's just use sharks for example, shall we?
Do we have to?
It's not like they're my favourite animal. So what are threats for sharks? Well, let's start with it, the big things, as that's what we'll concentrate on. Shark finning, plastic pollution and climate change. Most of those affect, and then you can do it with rhinos, poaching, plastic pollution, climate change. And then you can go ahead and do it with any other animal on this planet. Pangolins, hunting, plastic, and climate change. You find that there's these massive patterns. So really, then you can go, so you know what threatens all the animals on the earth, really, hunting, plastic, and climate change. So you can lobby the government to do that. And what the government will actually do, if they actually listen to you for once in their life, is they'll go ahead, they'll make legislative laws against shark finning, pangolin scale hunting, ivory trade, whatever, all that stuff. They'll make that illegal, they'll police it, so that stops. And then to do with the even bigger issues, plastic pollution, well really banning single-use plastic would be the most simple thing there, wouldn't it? And really, we shouldn't demonise plastic. Plastic isn't bad, humans are. Why as a species, something's causing problems, so we immediately blame the material. Plastic doesn't have a brain, or eyes, or even thought processes. So why are we blaming that for destroying our world, when we're the one that put it there in the first place? As well as with climate change, really, following the Paris Agreement, maybe even more, maybe even net zero by 2040 or 2035, maybe. It is not impossible. That is a very highly possible target. I mean, as we said, we've only got till 2030 to turn this ship around. Otherwise, we're going to head off the edge of the world, as the people who believe the world is flat would say.
So I think something that Finlay said there about the legislation. We were both at the Conservation Optimist Conference last week, wasn't it? And a recurring. It was a wonderful conference where we were introduced to some of the wonderful success stories in wildlife conservation, and a recurring theme so often was that it's not perfect, but that legislation was an enormously powerful tool. That so many of the species that are now on an upward trajectory after having crashed were increasing in numbers due to strong legislation that was reducing their major threat, largely hunting. I am going to avoid saying the B word, but that importing a lot of that EU legislation is going to be key, and making sure that if we leave, our environmental legislation stays strong and robust is going to be key, I think, and that we need to lobby our politicians for.
So UK government specifically, if I'm talking about this, then so recently I read this that Shell and BP in this year's their investment policy, they're investing 30% of their investment into something that's not pro-climate change. At the same time, we're also talking about this net zero that UK wants to reach, right? So at the same plate, there are two very different conflicting agendas that are going around. As a government, I think, where Izzy was saying that for international conventions, these are very difficult to be legally binded. Any country can pull off any time that they want to, and this is important to be that way. Otherwise, it's going to be sovereign rights of the country can be problematic. But as one country, this sort of things can be legally binded, like what you can invest in terms of if our country's end goal is to go to net zero, these are the things we can invest in, these are the things we can't, even if these are as big companies as Shell and BP and maybe the bigger lobbyists that they have to the politicians. So this is very important that these things can be legally binded.
I'm going to offer a very quick answer of my own as well. My answer is governments, the UK government specifically, needs to properly invest in nature in the same way that it does in defence and in the NHS. A few days ago, Sajid Javid, the Chancellor, in the spending review, committed £30 million for the environment. A couple of weeks ago, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, pledged 4 times that amount, £120 million, to research flying taxis. You can look that up, that is true. So governments need to invest. Right, a huge thanks to our panel. Can you give them a big round of applause, please? It's my great pleasure to hand over to my good friend, my mentor, a man who has helped to bring to life Springwatch, Tweet of the Day. You can walk into any bookshop and barely fail to put your hands on a Stephen Moss book, and he is one of the founding fathers of a focus on nature. So